So I'm Sarah Barker, and this will be yoga. This is a yoga for all levels of fitness. So I'll give modifications throughout the practice if you have any physical limitations or just certain things that your body is not wanting to do today. That is absolutely fine. You don't have to force it. You don't have to make everything happen today. I love to remind everybody that every day your body changes. Every single day we've got different things. Like I'm dealing with some pretty severe pain in my right elbow. And then you know what, tomorrow it could be something totally different. I might sleep wrong, it might be my neck, I don't know. But anyway, so welcome to today's yoga practice. I am going to be giving away a Lululemon yoga mat at the end of today's class, donated by XND and Lululemon. My yoga mat is a Lululemon yoga mat, and I love it. It's definitely better than any of the ones I've had in the past, although I've had some really great ones. So I'm looking forward to seeing who wins that. So stay on to the very, very end, and we'll be talking about the yoga mat. So I am recording this workout for the YouTube channel. If y'all are not able to get on any of these Zoom calls live, you're always welcome to go to our XND YouTube channel, do the workouts that we've uploaded there. And there will be a post today where if you do any YouTube workouts this week for the 20th week celebration of this community, you will still get entered into a drawing for a prize. Because I know some people have gone back to work, some people are not able to take these classes because of the time. I mean, like, it's 10 a.m. here, and this is not exactly the best time for a lot of people, especially if you're in a different time zone, right? So, okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm nice and wet. In fact, I see several of y'all that were on the class before this one. This is the ponytail situation that's going on right now. It's just completely soaked. Hey, Casey, welcome. Welcome. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Like I said, if you want to do that playlist, it's got some fun songs on there on Spotify. I put it in the chat. It's just nice to kind of have some music playing in the background. I like that for my yoga practice, but I can't play the music. Oh, you can't find it, Caroline? How do I, I wonder how I can share it with y'all. I know I can share it on my phone. Let me see if I can just share. All right, it's copied onto my clipboard. Let me see if I can paste it in the chat. From my phone to my iPad. Yup, there it is. Let me know if that works, Caroline. I'll put it in the chat. So if you can't find it, some easy things to search on Spotify are, if you use the word meditation music, or I actually found one earlier that had a cool song on it. I didn't take the whole playlist, but the playlist was called, I think it was actually called Rain Meditation, or Rain something, Rain. So anyway, because I like the sound of rain, and that's usually what my white noise sounds like. So it's just a fun ambiance to have in the background during your practice. So we'll go ahead and start standing today. Sometimes we sit at first and sometimes we stand. We'll stand today and find a comfortable spot on your mat to just start breathing and coming into your body, just kind of checking in with yourself as we get started today. And I am going to move over here and grab my towel. So while you're standing there, finding that space between your feet and the mat. If you're not using a mat, that's okay. Just letting your feet sink into the carpet or the concrete or whatever you are on today. I gotta tell y'all, the South is having an identity crisis right now. I know it's hot, like the surface of the sun in Arizona right now. I keep watching my friends' stories, and it's like 115 degrees and 102 degrees and things like that. But all of a sudden here in the South, the humidity is down a little bit, and the temperature is in like the 80s, and we're like, what is happening? It's August. We don't even, it's crazy. But you know what? What else is one more surprise in 2020, right? All right, so we're going to start out in Tadasana. This is standing mountain pose. It's just a soft, comfortable standing position. Your knees are soft. Your lower back is neutral. So remember, we're not prepubescent teenage girls here, and we're also not frumpy old men. So we want to make sure that our pelvis area is completely neutral, so that it's level at the top, like a bowl filled to the brim with water. So we're just keeping them neutral, lower back, and a neutral chin. So make sure your chin is just level. One way to check this mentally is to kind of take your earlobes and put them directly over your collarbone. So for most of us, that involves you have to actually lean back a little bit, and it kind of feels funny because we're so used to leaning forward with our neck. So when we line everything up really, really straight, it almost feels like we're out of alignment, but it's actually a neutral stance. So closing your eyes and just listening to my voice as I guide you through this breathing, we're filling up the belly and the lungs and the whole upper body with our inhale. And as you exhale, we're flattening and deflating that belly. So resist the temptation to lift your shoulders and inhale. That's actually a really shallow breath. We want to actually fill the belly up, expanding the diaphragm, and then bringing it back in as we breathe. And sometimes it helps to put our hands on our belly, our lower belly, and allow that belly to fill up with air. It feels strange if you're used to like tightening up your belly all the time. Set my yoga here. And so for today, I want to encourage y'all to think of a word of resolve for your practice. Sometimes it can be an intention statement, just something you want to say that's a truth you're speaking out loud about yourself or about your day, or something you want to be true, like I am strong and injury-free. That would be a great one for me today. Or I am here and I am at peace. Or you could just come up with one word. I taught a couple of yoga classes last week in the woods at camp next to the lake, and one of the words that a girl chose was the word ease. And I thought that was really, that was a really powerful word she chose. She's it's actually one of my sisters, and she has been just working really, really hard all summer, and she just wanted to give herself permission to just like ease her body into the practice that day. I thought it was pretty profound. Because that's not usually the word I would choose. I'm like, go harder, better, stronger, faster. And it was just a really good word. So thinking of that word for yourself today. Taking a couple more deep breaths. Maybe taking a few minutes or a few seconds to roll out your wrists, loosening up those wrists. Maybe rolling out the ankles one at each time. Let those kind of crackle and warm up a little bit. It's also really good to just kind of come up onto the toes and, maybe just bounce a little bit on your mat. We don't do this every time, but I've talked before about how important it is for our body to release muscular and skeletal energy, tension in the body that we hold in because, we're far too sophisticated and mature to jump around like a child. But it is very important to jump around like a child sometimes. So just loosen up those arms, stretching a few things out, getting that body kind of moving a little bit and getting it comfortable. And then we're going to take a deep breath in with both hands, bringing them all the way up over the head as I hit my fairy lights, touching those fingertips, arching that back into a baby back bend, and then bringing those hands back around, neutralizing that spine once more. Taking a deep breath in again, both hands come all the way up, and then bringing them back down. This time we're just going to kind of open up our heart center by taking the flat part of your knuckles, pressing them into your sacrum, that little spot above your tailbone. I'm just turning to the side so you guys can see where my hands are positioned, and just pushing those hips forward a little bit, taking a deep breath here. Elbows are back. You don't have to drop your head. And then as we exhale, step to the very, very front of your mat. I'm going to step over to the side here. And we're going to swan dive, taking those hands all the way down to the floor to a forward fold, dropping your head, locking your throat by tucking your chin into your chest, Vasudhavanga, locking that throat, keeping it closed. Shoulders are going to fall heavy, and the crown of your head is going to fall heavy. So we're dropping the crown of the head towards the floor, letting the weight of your own arms pull your vertebrae down towards the floor. It's tempting to want to look at your feet, but try to look straight through your knees. Relaxing that upper body, shaking that head, yes, I'm going to have an awesome practice. Shaking your head, no, I'm not going to compare myself to anybody else. No judgment, no jealousy. We are strong, we are capable. We've got an hour to dedicate to ourselves. We're going to crush it. So letting all that tension go towards the floor. Taking a deep breath in, bringing those chests up just a hair, bending in the knees, a lot of micro bend, and we're lifting to half lift. And then we're going to bend the knees quite a bit and set into chair pose, warming up those hips and those glutes and those quads a little bit. Sitting down into a nice deep chair pose. Your hands can be a prayer pose here, or you can even support yourself. You don't have to actually extend the hands. And then we're going to straighten the knees and go right back into our forward fold. Tucking that chin towards the chest, eyes through the thighs. Undoing all that pressure that gravity pushes into that neck. All right, taking those hands, placing the heels of your hands underneath your kneecap. We're going to press the body away, flat back, long, straight spine. Knees are still slightly bent, even though it feels like we're locking our knees here. Make sure you keep that bend in there a little bit. And then release back into that forward fold. Hands are going to come to the floor. Let's take a big step back into downward facing dog, pushing the tailbone up towards the ceiling or the sky if you're outside, pressing the thumb and index finger into the mat, pushing the heels into the floor. Deep breaths in and exhaling, pressing the chest down into the feet a little bit. Take another deep breath, and this time push that breath into the back body, filling up the back side of your rib cage. And we're going to exhale a little bit deeper into that pose. We're pressing the chest and ribs towards the feet. All right, slowly coming down into the knees. And then we're going to come into all fours. So once we're in that all fours position, pressing the elbows and the shoulders away from the ears. Tops of the feet are flat on the floor. Rolling that tailbone up towards the ceiling, just like in downward dog, but this time opening up the throat and chest. And then exhaling into cat. So rounding the spine towards the ceiling, tucking that tailbone under. Deep breath in to cow. Exhale to cat. Nice, smooth, fluid motion, just coming into that breath. Only going as fast as your breath is going. Then maybe after you've completed those up and down, we're coming to the side, wagging that tail a little bit, turning that tailbone from side to side to come to meet that shoulder. And then we're going to just roll that body out, barrel rolling the entire spine. Every once in a while, I'm tempted to leave this one out because it's so different for a lot of people to do this pose, this motion. But it's so good for your spine, y'all. It's really important to treat your spine like it's designed to be treated. We want to make sure we are constantly getting our back to move in different directions so that when you accidentally move it in a direction that's not normal, it doesn't hurt. You don't throw it out. It doesn't seize up. Very important. All right, so once you're back into those all fours, we're going to take the left foot. We're going to extend it straight out behind us, no higher than our own hip. And then notice that your weight is trying to shift over into that opposite knee. Try to level it out to where your belly button and your hips are still squared up towards the mat. And then we're going to extend that opposite hand. So a little spinal balance here. And then swapping out to the other side. And then do it again on each side one more time. Just extending out, fingertip extending forward, toe is extending to the back, and then opposite side. Bringing it back into those all fours. Taking those hands, placing them in the top two corners of our mat. Toes are going to curl under, and we're going to push the hips straight up into downward facing dog, really pressing that chest towards our toes. So we really want the top of our triangle shape here to be the tailbone. So not the hips, not the pelvis, not the lower back. The actual tailbone is curling up so that you really feel a stretch in your hamstrings. The right leg is going to come all the way up to the top of our body, and we're going to sweep that leg towards the hands. Dropping that back knee, we're going to come up into a crescent lunge with a little twist. So we're just going to twist over towards the bent knee. You can keep your hands down on your hips if you need to. And then bringing it back into that exalted kneeling crescent lunge. Bringing the hands down, we're going to take that back foot up towards the hands, towards the hands. Then we're going to sweep it up, reverse swan dive, all the way to that standing extended mountain pose. And then we're going to sweep the hands down and around into chair. All right, completing that swan dive down into forward fold, straight there into to forward fold. Hands are down on the floor. We're going to step back, one foot, then the other. Push into downward facing dog. Come forward to plank or kneeling plank. And then either go down all the way down to the floor for a modified cobra, a modified crocodile, or you could hover into that crocodile and push up to that upward facing dog. Toes curl under, push back to down dog. This time that left foot is going to sweep up all the way to the hands, kneeling into that crescent lunge. Woo, hello hip. Twisting if you'd like. Beautiful. Taking it back down. Stepping that back foot towards the front. Reverse swan dive all the way up to extended mountain pose. Sweeping the hands down and around to chair. Back down into forward fold. Step both feet back to downward facing dog or jump the back. Hips are up. Coming forward into plank. Halfway chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. And push back to down dog. All right, we're going to do that again. You can stay with me if you want, or if you're comfortable with that flow and you just want to, or you want to deviate from that flow, you can go ahead and do that. We're going to do it all the way through one more time. So you can stay with me or you can go on your own. We're going to take a deep breath in, lifting that foot, right foot first, coming forward. You can go to kneeling once again, or you can leave that knee up for balancing crescent lunge. Still adding the twist if you like. Inhale, bringing it back down. Hands to the floor, push up to the top of your mat. Reverse swan dive. Inhale to extended mountain pose. Exhale to chair. Inhale to forward fold. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, coming forward to plank. Exhale, crocodile. Inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale, down dog. Left foot sweeps up towards the hands. Balancing or kneeling. Inhale. Exhale to that twist. Good. Inhale. Back down. Pushing that foot up to the hands. Reverse swan dive. Big breath. Exhale to chair. Inhale back to forward fold. Exhale down dog. One last plank. We're coming forward. Dropping halfway. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, back to down dog. Hang out right here if you want, or you can come down into your extended child's pose. Resting that out, taking a quick break, checking in with yourself. Get a quick sip of water or hydro sticks or whatever you're drinking. I wouldn't be surprised if it does rain on me today. I wouldn't be mad about it. We need rain. Hopefully everybody's feeling pretty good. You should be hopefully nice and warm. stay in that child's pose for just another moment. Taking a deep breath in. All right, we're gonna spread those fingers out like starfish hands at the top two corners of our mat. Coming up, toes curl underneath our body, and we're pressing up to downward facing dog. All right, so we're gonna take a deep breath here. We're gonna kind of just come forward almost to a high plank, but we're actually gonna roll our back. So we're actually gonna roll the back upward and come into that plank and then straighten it out. And then we're gonna kind of roll backwards. So I want you to think about your body like a rolling pin on some bread dough. So you're just kind of like in a motion, inhaling and then exhaling. Strengthening those arms, keeping the back legs mostly straight, rounding out that upper back. If you need to drop to your knees here, that is absolutely fine. Rounding that back and then straightening it out into that plank. And then once you get back into that downward dog this next time, hold here. All right, let's take that right leg this time. We're going to lift it up towards the ceiling or the sky. Rotate that ankle a little bit. Maybe bend your knee. Stack that hip on top of the other hip. Press your bottom heel into the floor. And then we're going to sweep that foot all the way towards the hands. Warrior one. Come into that standing position. Both feet are flat on the floor. Your hip bones and your upper body facing one direction. The front of your body. Pressing into that front heel. We want to create a warmth into that front leg. So really press into a 90-degree angle in that front leg. Looking and making sure you can't see that big toe. All right, we're going to open up to warrior two. Flattening out that body, pulling the shoulder blades together. Body is flat now from front to back. Lifting up on the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, squeezing your inner thighs towards each other. All right, we're going to reach that front hand forward, flip that hand up, and then come back into reverse warrior. Back hand is just hanging out by that back leg, lifting up with the ribs, lifting up the upper body, but sinking down into that mountain pose. Very lovely pose. All right, we're going to bring it back into warrior two. Then I want us to take a nice deep breath and come back into warrior to reverse warrior. So sinking into that leg, deep breath into warrior two. Exhale into that reverse warrior. One more time, inhale to warrior two. And exhale, reverse warrior. Keeping that right leg bent, we're going to take that hand down, drop that forearm to the leg. Taking your left hip, or the hip that's on the straight leg, and we're going to sink it down, lifting up that opposite hand, pressing into that angle pose. So opening up the armpit, opening up the chest, looking up at that hand if you can. Front leg's going to start talking to you. That's okay. It's doing what it's supposed to. If you want to stay here, this is your modified angle. If you want a little extra, take that hand down to the floor or to a block or to a pillow, whatever you got, and keep that hip, this hip on the top, keep pressing it towards the floor. If you are a binder and you want to bind it, you bring that top hand towards your back hip, reach underneath your bent leg, and bind that pose in the back. All right, we're going to rotate, windmill that hand down, turn that back heel up, push back into those feet, and walk those legs out. Woo. It's been a minute since we did the angle pose, in my class anyway. Oh, good. All right, you guys. So next we're going to take that opposite foot up, and we're going to sweep it up behind the body. Rotate that ankle, bend the knee, feet to the flat on the floor and coming all the way up into that warrior one. Bending that front knee, creating that 90-degree angle, really pushing into that front foot and covering up the big toes with your knee. Very nice, looking good. Deep, full breaths in those warrior poses. We're strong. Our breath reminds us that we're strong, because sometimes we hold our breath because we think we need to, or we don't even really think about it. We're going to inhale, open it up to warrior two. Pulling those shoulder blades together, flatten out that body, look over that front arm. Now don't be relaxed here from the waist down. Really draw up on that pelvic floor, squeeze those inner thighs towards each other, really strengthen the base of your body. Front hand is going to reach forward, inhale, sweeping up to reverse warrior. Back into warrior two, open that chest, lift it up, deep breath in, bring it back to reverse. Back into warrior two, inhale, exhale, sinking down a little further. One more time, inhale to warrior two, exhale, reverse. Keeping that front leg really, really bent. Let's take it down into that modified angle pose. Top hand is lifting, pushing those hips, that pelvic floor towards the floor. Opening up that armpit, dropping down into that angle pose if you'd like. Full breaths here. If you want to bind it, bind it. And then sweeping that hand around, turning that back heel up, press into downward facing dog, walk it out. You can stay in this downward dog if you'd like, or you can recover in child's pose. Take a couple of breaths. I need more water today. Take several deep breaths here. All right, y'all, go ahead and come up on to your knees. Hands are spread out. Big hands, toes curl under. Lift up to that downward facing dog. Now that our feet, our legs are so warm, we're going to bend our knees and we're going to either step our feet up to our hands. You can hop there, reverse one, coming all the way up. Oh, let's get some balance in our lives. Some balance. So starting out with our traditional tree pose, as always. It's just my staple in my class. I've got several things that I always do. The tree is one of them. So we're going to balance into that tree pose, finding a spot on your leg that's not your knee, and securing your foot there. Doesn't matter which foot you start with. Bending the standing leg, finding a focal point with your eyes about 6 feet in front of you. Hands come into prayer pose at heart center. And we're breathing. Remembering that if you stumble a bit, or if you fall over, or you drop your foot, you can always come right back into it. It's not, we are not statues. You could still be moving. Taking those hands all the way up. Lifting that chest all the way towards the ceiling. We tried this one in my yoga class at CrossFit on Saturday, and it's been a minute since I did it. I forgot how fun it is. But tree pose is one thing. Willow tree is another. We're going to actually take our body off of the straight line, bringing the arms down towards that bent knee, like you're a tree that's been blown over. Chest is still staying up. It takes that body a second to adjust because we're off of our center of gravity here, but we're just really stretching the side body over here. and then bringing it back. Very nice. Very nice. All right, opposite side, coming up into that tree pose, finding that nice balance there. Breathing. Your foot does not have to be all the way up into your thigh. It can be across your knee, It could be underneath your knee at your calf. It could be all the way to the floor in a rooted position. Bringing those hands all the way up. Big breath here. Very good. On your next inhale, drawing that elbow towards the knee, leaning, trying not to fall, allowing your body to adjust to the different balance. And then bring it right back in. Woo. Almost lost it as we came out of there. All right, shaking out that body a little bit. Dancer's pose. We haven't done this one in a couple of weeks in my class, so I want to try it again today. If you are wanting to just stretch your quads and your hip flexors, that's fine. You're just going to reach back and grab that ankle, lock your ankle in by flexing your foot, and then draw the knees towards each other. So it's like you're trying to squeeze your thighs together and then push your hips forward. So it's like you're trying to push your belly button towards the front and really stretch that quad there. If you're going into dancer's pose, you're going to bring your hand to the inside of your ankle, flexing your foot just like before so that you lock your hand in place. And then we're reaching towards the front and lifting with that back heel. So we're reaching and lifting at the same time. Back heel is flexed towards the ceiling, and it keeps going up as you go forward. Balance is key with the breathing and the focal point of your eyes. Very good, and then bringing it down. I love that pose for the stretch in the shoulder. I love it. I feel it in my lower back, but I love the stretch in the shoulder. That's why our hand is on the inside, so that we're not putting undue hyperextension on the delts. So next side, pick your other side up, grabbing that ankle either on the outside so you can stretch just the quads and hip flexor, or bringing it to the inside of your ankle so that when you come forward, we've got that protected shoulder. Leaning and reaching forward, but pushing up with that back leg. Maybe even pressing against the hand with that back leg. Also breathing. Good, and then bringing it back down. Woo, giving yourself grace on the balance stuff. And balancing doesn't feel like your thing. It's just the day. Sometimes it's the day, sometimes it's some things in your body. Try it again on the next time we do it. You'll be surprised at what you can do. So rolling those shoulders back a little bit before we head back down to the floor. I want us to try to go into crow pose today from a standing position. I find that this is easier for some people to get into crow, and it's harder for others to go into crow in this way. So you'll figure it out real quick. I want to encourage y'all to trust your body. You may face plant, but that's okay. I'd rather you know that you might face plant than put a pillow underneath your face expecting yourself to face plant, okay? So from the standing position, you're hinging at the waist, and we're coming down into a forward fold position, placing the hands as wide as you can on your mat. So your fingers are spread out as wide as you can on your mat. And from the standing position, I'm going to shift my weight into my hands first, all my tippy toes, and my knees and legs are going to balance onto the backs of my hands, backs of my arms, while the head tips forward, okay? So you're more balancing than strength here, okay? If you're finding yourself not able to get into it from a standing position with your hips in the air, then you come down into a garland pose, or just a squat, okay? Garland pose is here in kind of a squat position. You don't drop your hips all the way. You just kind of have them active here. And you can come in from here. This is actually how I prefer, because my legs are already there. It's not as far to go. So just try it, play with it. Play with the crow pose. If I was with y'all, I would be able to watch you and help you and adjust you and tell you what, kind of what tips I would suggest. But because I can't see everyone, just play with it. Just see what your body can do. Take this moment to just kind of challenge yourself. The legs may slip off the arms. That's okay. My shins are actually pressing pretty hard into my triceps, if that helps anyone out there. And then I like to shift forward as far as I can until my toes have to come off the floor. How are we doing, everybody? Try it. I do feel like the crow is a more challenging pose. I don't typically do it like in a beginner yoga class, but I feel like if you don't ever try some of these poses, you don't ever know. And believe it or not, we don't ever arrive, in yoga. So there's lots of things that if you don't try them early on in your practice, you may think, oh, I'll never get there. I'll never try. All right, so when you're ready, go ahead and have a seat. Bring your feet out in front of you. Shifting your hips out of the way a little bit if you need to try to make sure those sit bones are pressing into the floor. Knees are going to be slightly bent, and we're just going to come forward into a seated forward fold. So we're pressing the body flat. Your knees can bend, like I said, and we're coming down into that lying down position, like a folded position. I'm going to actually move my screen now that I'm down on the floor a little bit. So taking your breath and inhaling as you lift your chest a little bit. And then as you exhale, I'm all knotted up here with my extension cord. As you exhale, sinking your body down into the mat. It's down into your floor a little bit more. Goodness, your legs are all bringing your chest down towards your legs. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, here we are, a little closer. All right, one more deep breath in, letting that body just fold in half a little more. All right, slowly coming back up. Taking one leg, let's take our left leg first and cross it over the right. If this is a little uncomfortable for you, if you have trouble keeping both hip or sit bones on the floor, you can always go into a seated pigeon pose and have the leg crossed across the front of the top of your leg. I like to flex my foot here to just kind of protect my knee, and then we're going to hug that bent knee and rotate into a seated spinal twist. Lifting the chest, crown of the head is coming up. Once you're in this position and you feel like you can go a little bit further, you can always take your arm and rotate a little bit further by pressing that arm into the leg. Notice also how this is really feeling like a good stretch in the scapular part of the shoulder and upper back. All right, bringing it back around. Swapping sides. So crossing over the opposite side, hugging that top leg, opening up that chest to the side. Feeling that nice outside glute stretch as well. And then we're going to press a little further if you want. Deep breaths in here. And then slowly rotate it back around to the front. All right, we are going to make our way. Let me check my time on this real quick. Okay, so we are going to make our way into a seated half lotus. So taking the right leg and placing it on the floor, preferably out away from your body. So my foot is coming away from my body. And then the opposite side crosses over on the top. Now you'll notice that my leg is in the air. This is not where it is supposed to be. My hips are really, really tight right now. But what we want is we want for both hips to be pressing into the floor. If you need to bring that foot a little more inside, you can. You can even put that foot outside the front. Like I said, my hips kind of lock it up since the quarantine, and so I'm having to really adjust a lot of these hip opener poses. But feet are flexed. And so if you've got your foot out front like mine, that's fine. Or if you've got it somewhere on your opposite leg, that's also okay. And then we're going to take our chest towards that top leg by pressing the hips down and pressing the chest over the leg. So just going to have to use your imagination on this one, because this is not what you should be doing. So whatever I'm doing, go further, okay? So again, if the leg is out front, we can go a little bit further, but we're kind of just straddling that top leg and pressing down into the floor. That sinking breath is coming back here. So we're big breath inhale and then exhaling, sinking the body. All right, then we're going to swap out the legs, taking that leg that was on top and putting it on the bottom, crossing over that opposite side, flexing that foot, lifting up the chest, and then straddling over that knee, pressing both butt cheeks into the floor. And slowly pushing back up into a seated position. We're going to come down into our belly first. We're going to lay down on our belly. So rotating your body, getting those legs underneath you and getting however you can get there, get into a lying down belly position. All right. So from here, we're going to extend the arms straight out. So we're going to lift the feet off the floor, squeezing into your lower back, really up, pulling up on the chest and breathing here. And then bringing that exhale lower just a little bit, coming up into an inhale and then lowering it. All right, we're going to bring our hands into a 90-degree angle in the elbows. So like a goalpost on a football field, okay? And kind of like an albatross, kind of like their big, you know, awkward long wings. We're going to lift up both arms off the floor, and we're just going to open up one side, looking up towards that thumb, just as far as you can go without hurting yourself, and then bringing it down. My glutes are tight here, and my knees are off the floor if possible. And then let's just do that again. One more on each side, restoring balance to the body, lifting up, pulling through the shoulder blades. And then bringing it back down. All right, hands are going to come down by our side, pulling the chest up off the floor a little bit and bringing your elbows in. Hands are flat on the floor. Glutes are still squeezing. And then we're just going to kind of pull the chest through the arms, like you're trying to come through the biceps. Should be feeling this a little bit in your lower back, squeezing those glutes. And then dropping it down into the ground, pressing up into that child's pose. This time leaving your knees underneath you so you can round out that lower back a little bit more effectively. And drop it into child's pose, just laying comfortably in that resting position. All right, coming up on our hands and knees, rotating those legs underneath you and having a seat. And then we're gonna come back into a lying position. But before we get there, I want to talk you through fish pose. So elbows are gonna get to the floor first. Legs can be extended unless you feel like you need a little support here with the bent knee. And we're just gonna drop the elbows first. And then if you can, comfortably, we're just gonna tip the chin upward towards the ceiling. If you can get it all the way to the floor, great, but you don't have to, okay? Even if you have a block or a pillow near you and you wanna put that back there, what we're doing here is we're keeping the elbows underneath us and dropping that head comfortably and safely. Make sure that if this feels like you're not gonna be able to come back up or you're straining something, you don't wanna go all the way back. Just kind of hold a neutral spine. All right, slowly, we're gonna come back up a little bit. Release those hands and elbows and come down into all the way into your back. Knees are gonna bend here. Hands are gonna be down towards your feet, and we're gonna lift up into bridge pose, squeezing those glutes. Get a little sunny. maybe it's not a rainy day after all, I don't know. And holding that bridge pose, really squeezing those glutes and hamstrings as if you're trying to pull them towards your head. Pulling the heels towards your head, squeezing an imaginary volleyball between your knees. And let's go ahead and try our shoulder stand for today. So if you want to come with me, you can. If you want to go ahead and bring your knees into your chest, that's also fine. You don't lay down and you don't have to do the shoulder stand, but may as well try it. Okay, you're in the safety of your home or somewhere that you're hopefully. I'm walking my hands underneath my back and down into my glutes. And all we're going to do is looking straight up. I'm just going to bring one knee and then the other into a shoulder stand. It's important to make sure that your spine we're trying to point it straight up. Okay, you can stay here. This is just fine. You're just getting into that practice. Locking that throat in towards the chest makes it kind of tricky to talk. And then we're going to extend those legs up. But if you'll notice, my legs are angled. In a true shoulder stand, we're actually going to straighten those legs as much as possible. If you want to go further here, you can bend at the hips, bringing your feet over the head into plow. Or you could stay in shoulder stand, or you can not do any of it. It's fine. From plow, all I have to do is bend my knees, and then vertebrae by vertebrae, rotate the body back down towards the floor. That one actually, believe it or not, did not feel well on my elbow. I'm supporting myself, I guess, with my arm. Let me undo the knot in my shirt. All right, so we're gonna come into our knees to the chest position. So many mosquito bites. All right, bringing those knees in to the chest. Rolling that back into the floor a little bit. All right, so we're going to take our arms, take them down either to a letter A position, or you can extend them all the way out, letter T. And we're going to rotate the knees all the way over to one side, keeping the shoulders and the back as much as possible on the floor. Stacking those knees and letting them drop to the floor. Looking over that opposite shoulder. Using that core and that breath, we're going to bring it back into the middle and then rotate over to the opposite side. right, one final deep breath. We're going to rotate back into the middle. Maybe just rotating those hip sockets a little bit. Taking about 45 seconds or so to do any other poses or stretches that you may want to get into real quick before we go into corpse pose. So if you're feeling like you need to stretch anything else, that's your body's way of saying, yeah, you forgot about me. I need a little bit more today. So stretch those things out. Stretch the backs of the legs a little bit. Pick yourself up and do a headstand, whatever you need to do to get it out there. No rules here. Any position is fine. And after your 45 seconds or so, go ahead and start making your way into a corpse pose, Shavasana, as we go into our final relaxation part of the class. Everyone's favorite. It's my favorite anyway. And I say that it's everybody's favorite, but I know there's a lot of us that really struggle with this part. It's really hard to be still. And for many of you, it's really hard to take time for yourself. And so you're already like itching to get back to whatever it is you need to get back to. So I want to encourage you to try to be present on your mat for this next little bit as you come into a lying position on your back. If that's not comfortable for you, a side lying position is fine. You can even sit up and do your final relaxation, whatever is feeling good to you right now. And I will bring my little chimes in when it's time to come into a seated position. So you don't have to keep checking the Zoom to see if anybody's moving or anything. But I'll tell you when the time is ready. But for now, I want y'all to just start sinking your body a little bit deeper into your mat. So earlier I mentioned when we were doing some of those downward dogs to planks that you were kind of like a rolling pin into bread dough. I want you to think about that bread dough once again. I want you to think about it filling every surface of your mat or whatever you're laying on. I want your body to be that bread dough. So it starts to kind of adapt to whatever shape of container you put it in, right? So it's going to start being like fuller and heavier into the mat. Like when you throw a piece of Play-Doh on the ground, it's going to flatten out. So allow your body to become heavy. Allow your breath to become slower once again. So inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Trying to extend that exhale a little bit further than the inhale. And really just slow everything down. I really encourage you to resist the temptation to start thinking about your to-do list or what you got to get to after this. It's going to be there when you're ready. It's just waiting for you. You don't have to rush it. But go ahead and just, whenever your mind starts to wander, consciously bring it back to this space. Consciously bringing your body and your mind back to your mat and to that breath, even if you have to remind yourself multiple times, okay, I'm supposed to be just breathing. I want you to just take these few minutes for yourself because you deserve it. And after just a couple of minutes, I'm going to bring us back. You'll hear my little chimes, and that'll be your sign to come on up into a seated position, however you want to get there. So just for now, take this moment to just breathe. go ahead and start wiggling your fingers and your toes once again.
Wait, can we talk now?
Nope, you cannot talk now.
Why?
And start just making your way up to a seated position, maybe even rolling over to one side first and coming into a couple of breaths there and then into a seated position. All right, once you are in that seated position, whatever that may look like, however it's comfortable for you, we're going to take a deep breath in, bringing those hands all the way up over the head. And exhale, do that one more time. Deep breath in. And bringing those hands all the way back down into our heart center, right there at prayer pose. Namaste.
I love you, Mommy.
I love you too, buddy. Y'all.